Hey crafty friends, this is Jennifer, and today I have a very special paper crafting video for you, because in this tutorial I want to show you how you can assemble the card kit that I provided at my Make and Take table at the It's Always an Adventure and Lawn Fawn 15th birthday event. In case you didn't have the chance to attend the event and therefore don't have the kit, or if you want to recreate the card, or if you're just curious which supplies I've used to prepare it, I would like to invite you to check out the full handout that I created and that I'll link down in the description box below. It includes a full supply list with clickable links, an explanation how I used the supplies, and even a coloring page. So I hope this is helpful, and now let's get started. So this is the kit that was available at my table, and when you open it you will find the following items, as well as a contact card. At the table I also provided a assembly instruction, which is a condensed version of the full handout that I provided and which I will link below in the description. Additionally to the kit, you just need a few more items for the card assembly. You need dimensional adhesive like foam squares, foam strips or foam tape, and flat adhesive like this tape runner or liquid glue. And you also need scissors, which I forgot to show. Okay, let's start with the first step, for which we will need the pull tab and the background piece. And we need to flip the background piece over so that we look at its back. And I already attached 2 acetate strips to the pull tab with a tiny brad. And now we need to feed these 2 acetate strips to the 2 slots that I die cut into the background piece. And you can bend the acetate strips a little to get them into the slits. And now looking at the front, you can see that they both stick out to the 2 sides. And since the pull tab is very wobbly at this point, we will use 2 sleeves to secure it and make sure it moves up and down in a straight line. So now we will adhere the first sleeve. And now I'm showing the back side of it, and it consists of 3 parts, as you can see, and we will apply adhesive to the middle part of its back side. So I use my tape runner, apply the adhesive, and I hope you can see it. And now I will put it under my pull tab to adhere it to the background piece, right above the notch. And it doesn't matter if the small tab faces to the left or the right. We just have to make sure that we align our pull tab as straight as possible. And to do that, I center the top between the 2 slits and the bottom part of the pull tab right on the notch. And after I have it straight, I will place my sleeve under the pull tab, the glue facing down, so that I will adhere the sleeve to the background, not the pull tab. And make sure that it's above the notch so it won't show from the front. And then you have to make sure that the sleeve is straight, and then you can press it down. Now we can close the sleeve, and to do this we need some more adhesive. We need to apply that to that small tab. And to protect my background from the adhesive, I used this scrap piece of release paper, but you can use anything, scratch paper, copy paper, whatsoever, and then apply the adhesive to that small tab. And then we fold over the big piece and then the small piece to close the tab. And we have to make sure that it's not too tight, so that the pull tab can still easily move up and down. And the second sleeve will be adhered later. The next step is to adhere our grass piece to our background. And I will use foam tape to do this, or foam squares rather. And I apply a few of them to my grass piece. Then I remove the release papers and adhere it to my background piece, making sure that the two notches are aligned, as well as the outer edges. The next step is actually optional, but I find it helps a little with the mechanism. We will place adhesive between the two slits to adhere that white circle, which will keep the acetate strips flat. And I think it's helpful to move up the pull tab as far as possible so that the brad is not in the way between the two slits when we apply the adhesive. So I use my tape runner again and put some adhesive between the two slits. And then I place my circle right over that so that the two slits are covered. Press it down and we can still use our mechanism without any problem. And it helps to keep the acetate strips from sticking up too much. Okay, our next step is to adhere the tree. And since we will place it on the grass and on the background, we will need foam adhesive on the upper 2/3 and flat adhesive at the bottom part, the bottom third of the tree. And we need to make sure that we put the foam adhesive just to the center of the tree, not the outer edges, because that would hinder our mechanism, since the two acetate strips need to move up and down under those outer edges of the tree. And I'm using foam strips that I already cut to the right length and place them center-ish on my tree. And for the bottom part, I use my tape runner. Instead of permanently adhering the tree to the card, I don't remove the release paper from the foam tape and just stick it down temporarily so that I'm able to adjust its position if required. I place my tree so that its crown right above the slits or the circle and test if my mechanism is working. And sometimes, even though we applied the circle, the acetate strips can get caught in the branches, what will hinder the mechanism. And in case that happens, you can gently bend the branches upwards without causing any cracks. And that will give the acetate strips enough room to freely move up and down. So now we can adhere our two birds to the acetate strips, and I will use my release paper again, or you can use copy paper, scratch paper, whatever you have on hand. And then I apply adhesive to the two acetate strips to their ends. I had a little bit too much over there, so I'm removing it with my finger very professionally. And then I can adhere my birds. I'm not pressing them down because I want to be able to reposition them in case I'm not happy with their placement. Then I test moving the pull tab up and down to their respective endpoints to see if the birds are hidden behind the branches. So they're completely hidden at the bottom when the pull tab is pushed in, and now I'm moving it up, but you can see that it's still slightly visible. So I will move my tree a little bit upwards and center it again. And now my pull tab doesn't want to move because the birds got stuck at the circle. That can happen when the birds are not adhered well, which is the case because I haven't pressed them down in case I want to move them. Which I want to do because they're sticking out a little bit, so I'm putting them further in. And move my tree up a little bit more. And I finally like the placement of the tree and the birds. Therefore, I can remove the foam tape, the release paper of the foam tape, and stick the tree permanently down. Bend the branches upwards again because I fiddled around with it so much. And then I can press down the birds so that they're well adhered to the acetate strips. And then I can use my scissors to cut off the excess acetate. You can just put your scissors behind the birds and cut it off. Doing the same thing on the second strip or second bird. And then it's done. Now I can move my pull tab up and down to check if it's working, and you can see that the birds fly out of the branches and hide again behind the branches. So now that the tree and the birds are adhered, we can adhere the second sleeve. And I waited until this point because now I know the ideal position for the second sleeve. And before attaching it, I have to pull my tab down so that the two birds disappear behind the branches. And then I flip my panel over. And now I can adhere the sleeve below the brad. So I'm putting adhesive to the middle section on the back, placing it under my pull tab to adhere to the background, making sure it's centered and below the brad. Then I can push it down, and to close it, I fold over the big piece and put adhesive to the small tab. Again, using my scratch paper to protect my background, and closing the sleeve, making sure it's not too tight so that we can still move the pull tab easily. And you can see there's just a little bit of wiggle room, but it moves very stable up and down in a straight line. Okay, the next step is to adhere the mice, and we have to make sure that they're not too high to not interfere with our mechanism, so they don't hinder the birds from flying. I therefore mainly use flat adhesive and only use a small piece of foam adhesive or a small foam square at their top where they are attached to the background. Now I can remove the release paper and place my mouse into the scene. And I'm repeating the second step for my second mouth, making sure they're both not too high to not hinder our mechanism. And the last step is to attach the decorative tab. So we will fold it so that the blue side is on the outside, and then put adhesive to the inside, which is the white side. So I'm covering it completely with my tape runner. Before adhering the decorative tab, you have to make sure that your pull tab has the right length. That means that it is flush with the end of your card panel, as you can see here. If this is not the case, you have to first shorten the tab and then attach your decorative tab. And that's it. We finished our card panel. To adhere the finished panel to a card base, you need to use foam tape or foam squares to give the pull tab enough room to move. Otherwise it would get stuck. Okay, before I end this video, I would like to mention again that there is a full handout available with all the details and clickable links. You can find a link to the document in the description box. And I thank you very, very much for taking the time to watch this video. I hope you liked it and that you liked the card. If so, I would be very happy if you could give the video a like so that YouTube might suggest it to other viewers as well. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.